Hello, dear friends of electronic music. Björn Torwellen here from the SINEE Studios, and today I want to talk with you about Mixdown, but in a different way, a different scope of thinking about Mixdown, a theoretical concept of Mixdown. So no fancy tricks like do always a low cut, crazy Mixdown hacks, compressing tricks or stuff like this. It's more about the concept of mixing tracks. In my opinion, a mixdown should support the composition, the idea of a track. If you have a great sounding track, perfect mixdown, but the idea is weak, it's just a good sounding track. So if you are a producer and you don't have a lot of experience, don't focus too much on all those technical issues. Focus on arrangement, on music theory, on sound design, and evolve your own sound instead of diving too deep into mixdown techniques, because you can outsource a mixdown to a mixdown engineer or a mastering guy, but you can't outsource your vision of your musical idea. So evolve your own sound and don't deep too much into those mixdown issues. This video will show you how to make your track sound good without any fancy mixdown tracks. Hey, and if you want to learn more about music production, check SINEE.de. We are the leading platform in electronic music education in Germany, and since a year we are now producing English language content. Recently we released a huge bundle with 4 masterclasses from Lakay, Sama, Luigi Madonna and Danny Rabbit, a full track production bundle with a really good price. Also, actually, we have a sale going on our website. Every masterclasses, every tutorials are 40% off. So just check on SINEE.de and get your education content. And if you are searching for good sounds and sample packs, we have a lot on SINEE. The first thing you have to focus on is the kick and the bass. It's the benchmark for your track. It's the foundation for your whole mix. So if you have a weak kick drum and a messy low end with crappy transients and everything is wobbling around, it's really hard to find a good balance in your track. So keep your low end simple, clean and powerful. If it's too quiet, you will have problems to level your hi-hats and your mid-range sounds. If it's too loud, you lose a lot of energy just for your kick and your bass. So you have to find a good level. I will explain you on a track from myself things I take care of. But it's important to know the challenges in your style. So mixing a melodic techno track or a hard techno track or a house track are a bit different because you have other elements. In my music, I'm working with rumbles, with hard kick drums, not a lot of tonal bass lines. So you have to transfer this information to your style. So here's my kick and my bass. It's layered with different kick drums and rumbles, like this kick. I know, a lot of layers. So if you like that I do a video on this channel how I build my kick layers and my, call it kick bass layers, just write it in the comments and I will do a video for this. But I don't want to focus on how I did this. I want to focus on the frequency spectrum. I'm using span. And if you see my kick and my bass in the span. It has a lot of low end. It don't have a lot of mid-range. I focus on a clear low end, not too much in the lower mids, and less information in the higher frequencies. So you need space for everything else. This is a rule of composition your music. It's about choosing your elements and orchestrate them on the right place and to level them correctly. So I like my kick and bass loud, and I have a lot of gain here. So this is my benchmark, my level for everything else. So if I turn on my hi-hats, you see the hi-hats are loud as the kick drum. In my opinion, a good solution is to work with frequency analyzers. So of course, a lot of people tell you you have to work with your ears, and it's true. You have to trust your ears. But in the most environments, you don't have a good treatment, and sometimes you are not confident. And to get your confidence, it's good to visualize your music. And that's why I'm working with Span. It's a free tool I think every producer should know. And it helps you to balance your music. But you have to take care on some preferences. So if I'm going into Span, I can hit this button here, and then you have this slope. And what means slope? It's the relation between the low end and the high end. And if you have the slope on 0, your mix looks like this. So I worked out that I try to put the hi-hats as high as the low end. So if you have the slope on 0, it will not work, because then your high end will be much too loud. So I put my slope on 4.8, but it's my personal preference. So you can find your own preference in Span if you are using reference tracks. So maybe you know some tracks. You think, okay, the balance between the low end and the high end and the mid-range is perfect. So take this track. And I show you with the analog mixed version of this track. It's a bit others. What we listened to before was a digital mix. This is a analog mix. And you can now adjust the slope. And I try to find like this. Oh wait. So now you have the peaks of the high end and the bass on the same level. So that's important to know, of course. Yeah. And then you can mixing your highs perfect to your lows. And that's why I told you it's so much important that your low end is just perfect. Because you can't level your high end perfect without a good sounding low end. Here are my hi-hats, and now I will bring them to the mix. And find the perfect level for it. Like this. And of course I've some other elements like this. And my dirt loop. But it's very quiet. No, the hi-hats are a bit too loud. And the clap. So, Mixdown is always find the balance between highs and lows, and then you have the perfect stage for your mid-range. And you have to take care that your hi-hats are not too much going in the mid-range. Let me show you. Here are the hi-hats. There is no low content. It's just in the highs where it has to be. And then I have my perks. They are in the highs and they are a bit in the mid-range. I have this, it's called bass, but it's not a bass, it's more a texture. I have my instruments. They're perfect set in the middle, but not in the highs. There is a clap. I like tiny claps. And so everything is in a perfect balance. And I like those smiley curves where the mid-range is not too overpowered, but it's the same like setting up your span. It's about finding your own aesthetics of how to sound your music. So if you like a very high-endy mix with a lot of air, it's your choose. You have to choose how to sound your tracks. The next thing, I feel it's very important to learn sound design, to get your sounds textured with a lot of overtones and stuff going around it. If you only have a small hi-hat, like you can't fill out your hi-hat. What I hear a lot in tracks from track feedback or from beginners, that the sounds they are using are not fat enough, not textured enough to fill out the frequency range. So that's why I'm using a lot of hi-hats like this. To get this dance sound. So I also layering my steps, my chords, my synth sequences. Because if you only have a sine tone, like getting like this in your mix, it can't sound fat because there is nothing. And you can work with EQs and compression and stuff like this. If your sound design is weak and you don't have a lot of texture in your sound, there is nothing an EQ can do for you. So on the one side, there is the balancing your track. On the other side is try to create sounds that fill out the spectrum where they're sitting. Here I have another example. It's from a how to make a track I did, and it's a template on SINEE. It's just Ableton only. And I want to show you how important is the composition. So if you are missing content in some frequency ranges, like in the lower mids or in the high frequency spectrum or in the bass, you have to find some instruments, some sounds to fill them. So let's look on the frequency range between 100 and 300 Hertz. Because this frequency range is responsible for that your track is feeling warm and gluing together. So if you have just a kick drum and no bass line, this frequency range will left empty. If you have rumble kick drums, very, very deep and dark, and you don't have percussions in the mid-range, this room is left empty. So find sounds that sitting in this frequency range. But be careful. If you overpower this frequency range between 100 and 400 Hertz, your mix will sound really, really muffled. You have to be careful. This range here should never be so loud that your kick drum it has to be a bit smaller than your low end. Otherwise, you will get problems with your kick drum, and you will probably getting problems with everything above those frequency range. So again, it's so important to find the first level of your kick drum, to measure everything else on this level, and then try to find components for every frequency range. Like in this example, it's a really minimalistic groove track. I have kick and bass here. It's just fill out this range, and with the bass line and tom, I have fill out this bass. And of course it's giving the track the groove, and it feels a bit warm. Then I have my groove. It's more in the mid-range. It's not sitting here because here's the bass, I don't want to push it here. But you can do it. It's a groove. Then I have the hi-hats. They're sitting here. I have the claps. Very, very small, sitting here. And then I have my chords. Sitting in the middle. But only in the middle. And in the they have very deep sounds, and they're also sitting here in the lower mids. And everything together will fill out your mix. So the composition, the orchestration of your track is so important. You have to find instruments, sounds, elements in your mix to fill out the frequency range. And if you do this, you don't have to use equalizer to pushing up frequencies in the mastering or on elements, because some frequency ranges are feeling empty. To be honest, I'm using equalizers to cutting frequencies, not to push them. But of course, sometimes I also push frequencies. It's a sound design thing. So the conclusion of this video and the concept of mixing music is to find first the right level of your kick drum and your bass line. And then you can perfect measure the high end to your kick drum and bass line. And you have to find your own way how loud your high end should be. It's a thing of own taste. And then there are a lot of components in between those two frequencies. And you have to find instruments, sounds, effects to fill out this spectrum with a lot of texture, with a lot of layering, and a good composition. And the composition is always the matter of the style you are producing. So in some styles, you will have a bass line in the mid-range and have a lot of synths going in the mid-range. In other styles, you are working with percussions, with vocals, or with pads. Always think about what's my style I'm producing and what elements can I use to fill out the frequency range. And that's the magic on doing a good balanced mix. Of course, there are a lot of more things to do in a mixdown, like transients and depth with reverb and stereo positioning and all those stuff. But it's on the other side of mixing. Don't have a good composition, don't care about stuff like this. I really hope you enjoy my video. Sorry for my not so good English, but I will train a lot of English, because a lot of people asking on our German channel, man, Björn, can you please doing English tutorials? I will do now. And I'm really hyped to do this, but I have to get more confident in my English. So let's give me a bit of time. Thanks for watching, your Björn.